أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وبه نستعين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا رحمة للعالمين أبي القاسم محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
والصلاة والسلام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. All praise and glory belongs to Allah, the one who has given the human beings the ability to be able to communicate, to be able to get in touch with their Creator without having to put the barriers or restrictions. If you think about anybody in this world that has reached a certain level, you cannot have access to that person just whenever you want, right? If a person says, okay, I would like to meet the Queen, well, who are you, first of all? Second, if you want to meet the Queen, there are so many barriers, restrictions, people, appointment, scheduling that you would have to do. And when you get there, the Queen is going to treat you as if you are the subject and she's the Queen. But with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I could give you more examples to get your mind to the right frame, but if you think about it, you can call upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala any time of the day or night. There are no restrictions, there are no barriers. You call upon Him, you say Allahumma, which means, oh Allah. You do dua. Dua means to call. You say Allahumma, He says yes. You say Inni as'aluka. This is what my su'al is, this is what I want. And He says, He guarantees that ad'uni fastajib lakum, if you were to call upon me, I will answer. So there is no creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that calls upon Him and He does not answer. We generally associate our wants and desires or needs being fulfilled, we equate that to be for our prayers to be answered. Right? When it's not the case. Every person or even creation, when it calls upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He answers. Okay? So there is no dua that anybody does that is not answered. Once He has said yes, what we ask for, He determines what is best for us and what's not. Okay? Like for example, if my 5-year-old daughter says that, okay, Baba, for example, Abu, I want this bleach, the detergent bleach, I want that. She calls upon me, she says, Abu, I say, Ji. Then she goes, Inni as'aluka, Muslim, that we say in there. She says that I have this, so all I want, bleach. Would I give it to her? No. Me being her father, I know that this bleach is not good for her. It will spill on her hands, she will get a rash, or if she, Maazallah, drinks it, then she's going to die. Me not giving her that poison, if she starts saying to me that you haven't listened to me, I made a request, you did not fulfill it, would that be the right thing to do? No. when we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we ask for something, we don't know whether that thing is poison for us or is good for us. It is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that determines what is best and what is not for us. And He's not limited by time. The ulama, they say that everything that you ask for that is in line with the religion, with your hereafter and this world as a benefit, even the timing He chooses that is the best for you. So that request you made is probably good for you. But to receive it now is not going to be good for you, for example. Right? It's not going to be the best for you. Alright? So what He'll do is He'll choose a particular time that thing will be multiplied by many folds in beneficial to you. Right? You see, the reason why I started with this is that our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has to be revamped, refurbished, reanalyzed. You know, the amount of relationship that gets stronger as personal relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, just as much the faith and conviction of a person increases. And to be honest, our relationship with Him is not proper yet. Right? We need to work on that. And we have to start somewhere. And I think starting from somewhere, the lowest or the first step is actually knowledge. It's not the last step. When we think about the religious knowledge, the elementary school that you went to, the high school that you did, right? If you were to pile up all of the books that you've read, okay? So just pile up all of the books that you've read, all the assignments that you've done, all the homework from the very beginning, the kindergarten, you start making those paintings, put it on one side, right? It will amount to like 7, 8, maybe 6 foot pile. And I'm not probably exaggerating, because when you lift the bag of one of these children who are going to elementary school, grade 7 or 8, it's like this, as if stones are in there, right? That person who's graduated high school has gone to uni. By the time they get to have their bachelor's or master's, this pile is massive. But then if I was to tell you to start piling up the religious knowledge that you've gained, right? It might not amount to much. And that is one of the reasons why, because we don't know, like this, such a simple thing, that dua, the difference between dua and su'al. Such a simple thing. Dua is calling and su'al is asking. Right? There's two separate things. Calling is something else. I say, Muhammad. If there was anybody Muhammad, they would say, yes. That's dua. We associate calling upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as asking, when it's not the case. Asking is different. It's a simple thing, but it clears up many things of our relation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So now you know that every time you've said Allahumma, He has answered you. You're not going to complain, oh, my prayers don't get answered. You know, you call upon Him, you call upon me, I will answer. He's already answered. After what you've asked, if you have faith that He wants the best for you, you're never going to be disappointed if something you asked and you did not receive. Now this relationship is not based on regrets. It's not based on, complaints. It's not based on, I asked, I went to Haram of Imam Hussain, I asked there and, my dua did not get fulfilled. Or I've been asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to get me a better job and it's not getting fulfilled. All of these sentences basically are getting you away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, getting you complacent, getting you to a place where you might even stop asking. Right? And your relationship with Him is going to get ruined. So knowledge is the starting point. It's not the end. I'll give you another simple example. Would somebody be able to translate Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim? I know the brother always says it in English. Can somebody translate Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim for me?
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad.
Even reciting the salawat will not avoid the answer, so you have to answer. Right, so that's the traditional way that we translate the meaning of Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Mercy and beneficence are two separate things. Beneficence or benefit is actually a byproduct of mercy. Mercy is something else, right? But when we are translating it, Rahman we translate as beneficent. Rahim we translate as merciful. When in reality, both of them have the meaning of mercy. Right? Rahman is that there is a circle of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in which all of His creations are included. With me? Meaning to be able to have that mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all you have to do is what? To be a creation. Fir'aun was a creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was also included in that circle of mercy. Animals are creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are also included in that circle of mercy. Right? Even to the point that the enemies of Ahlul Bayt al-Islam, they are also the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are also included in that circle of mercy. With me? They got their food, they got their shelter, they got their rizq-e-madi, their material sustenance. Right? They got all of that. But Rahim is something else. Rahim is that specific circle in which you have to enter. Just because you're the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not give you the right to be part of that circle. That circle is a privilege to enter. It's not the right of anyone. Those individuals who by their knowledge, by their action, by their fearness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that they fear, by the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by the worships that they have done, by giving in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by having the characteristics of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that gives them the qualification to be able to enter into this specific circle of mercy. Now in that specific circle of mercy, the enemies of Ahlul Bayt are not there. Why? Because their actions are totally opposite of what is required to enter into that. With me? And this special circle of mercy is also in this world and also in the hereafter. In the hereafter, the shape of that is heaven. Because just because you're a creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're not going to be entered into heaven. You would have had to qualify. You would have to be a mu'min. You would have to be a staunch follower of the Imam of your time, of the Quran. You cannot just enter into heaven. Right? So now, if you were to now retranslate Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and I'll translate once everyone's attention is with me, then you can remember that translation, and every time you recite Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, you will have a different relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim gets translated. I begin in the name of Allah, or I seek help with the name of Allah, the entirely merciful, the specially merciful. You see? I begin in the name of Allah, the entirely merciful, the specially merciful. So now when you are saying that, you know that me as a creation, I will always be in the circle of Rahman. But I need to enter into the circle of Rahim. If I do not qualify, I will not have that special mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this world or the hereafter. Right? It changes your whole perception. Simplest thing which we, say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim all of the time. Right? Even if you want to understand it more, I have, mashallah, 4 kids, 2 boys, 2 girls. My sons and my daughters, no matter what they do, right, they're still going to be my sons and daughters.
That's true.
Right? If they become good, if they become bad, if they go on the right path or they astray from the right path, they're still going to be my sons and daughters. Right? But would I be happy with them would depend on their actions. Right? If my son is on the right path, I will be happy with him. I will have a special love for him. A lot more than just him being my son. Because of his righteousness, because of his piousness. I don't know. Just remember this point, because I will connect this to Hazrat Qasim alayhi salam. Okay? And the relationship that Imam Hussain alayhi salam had with Hazrat al-Yasghar, with Hazrat al-Akbar, the relationship of Bibi Zainab salam alayha with Hazrat Anna Muhammad, and so forth and so forth. On that constant relationship, which is, without change, every human being has that. Right? And that is that circle of Rahman. You are a creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your worth as a creation is always in His eyes. But then, depending on what you do, you will be either part of the maghdubi alayhim or walad dhalin. Either you will be on that or you will be on that. It's up to our actions. It's up to us to determine that. Okay? With me?
Yep.
So next time you do Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, remember that. Because it will, every time it will give you the remembrance that, just because you said Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim and you're saying this verse, the next verses of the Holy Quran, remember, just by saying that and without acting it, you're not going to enter into the special mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because there are many huffaz, many reciters of the Quran that are not going to enter into paradise. In reality, when they recite the Holy Quran, it curses them. Because their actions and their character is away from the light of the Quran. Right? So when you're saying Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, if you still think of yourself to be someone that praise is required to you, then remember you cannot enter this special mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because all praise belongs to Him. Someone who says that every single day so many times, how can they build arrogance? Whatever I have is because you have given it to me. If I have any goodness, it's because of you. If I have anything wrong, it's because of me. Right? So, knowledge is the first step. We all need to acquire that. As I was telling you, practically, I will be giving you some indications or guidance. When you want to read, you also have to be careful which author you're reading. Okay? For example, Ayatollah Dasghaib Shirazi Rahmatullah Alayh, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless his soul, is one of those personalities that you should read. Right? He was a great scholar, he was a martyr, and his books are very simple. They are translated into English. If you can read Urdu, they are in Urdu as well. And when you read his books, it motivates you, it gives you the right direction to take, it tells you the right perception of what your religion is. Or like Shaykh Mutahari Rahmatullah Alayh, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless his soul, about Ayatollah Dasghaib Shirazi, if you wanted to know, such a high level of spirituality, amazing personality. He used to lead Jummah prayers, and the enemy actually, martyred him by, there was a bomb blast and his whole body was actually cut into pieces. And he had actually asked for that. And he had done dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he wants to go in this condition. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fulfilled it. And they had collected the pieces of his body, and then they buried it. And a person saw him in their dream, and Agha came and said that, there was a piece of my body that actually was not taken, and it's at such and such place, if you can take it and put it. Wow. So, and there are many different stories about his life, and it just makes you fall in love with a person like him, who had who had achieved that level of success which we aspire to, and he was given that his beginning was good and his end was good, and his middle was good. There are many people whose beginning might be good but their end is not good. There might be many people whose beginning is good, middle is not good, and end is good. But he was one of those personalities. That all was good from him. Then Shaykh Mutahari, Rahmatullah Alayhi, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless his soul, one of the individuals that has aspired and inspired, and I have learned a lot, is him. He was an amazing personality. He built the bridge between university and Hausa. The people in the Hausa considered the people in the universities as if, they don't know anything. And the people in the university thought people in the Hausa don't know anything. And he built that bridge, which you can now say was the foundation for all of the scientific and research success that you see in that country. And he gave the right perception of what Islam is that can stay alive throughout every era and every time. That you don't need to start calling modern Islam, progressive Islam, or old Islam, or backward Islam. All of these adjectives that we use is wrong. Because Islam is Islam. The Islam that was 1400 years ago is the same Islam that is in 2018. The principles of Islam, the values of Islam, they do not change. So there is no such thing, it's above time and space. Right? It's not bound by time and space. If it was bound by time and space, you could say, modern Islam, progressive Islam, backward Islam, old Islam. Can you tell me in which era, if the humanity's nature was to stay pure, that truthfulness would go out of fashion? Then now you live in a time where truthfulness has no place. That honesty does not have a place. Or that jealousy is now considered to be good. If that happens, it's because of us. So who is backward? Islam or the people perceiving it? See? The people who are perceiving it, they're the ones who think that they are modern or backward. It's not Islam. It's depending on your understanding of Islam. When you start saying that it's modern Muslim, yanichi, modern Muslim. Any what? Modern Muslim. Do you have a modern Quran too? You have like a different copy of Quran that is modern? Do you have a modern Allah? Maazallah, the people who are backward Islam, they have a backward Allah. Do you have a modern Nabi? Do you have a modern Imam? Do you have a modern Day of Judgment? Do you have a modern justice, the concept of justice of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
There is a translation of Quran, a modern Quran.
Yeah, but translations you can have.
It's called Noble Quran, I think is translated by MDS.
Okay, but that's again about the perception of the person. But just because you have now labeled it modern translation, any previous translation is backward and it is not right, well, you were the one who kept reading and trying to understand that translation. What happened to your forefathers? Did they go astray? Right?
I didn't see it, I just heard it from
Yeah, so there are like 3,000 websites out there that have made their own Qurans out there. So are those modern Qurans? And these 3,000 websites that have all of these Qurans, they're like, they've changed the Arabic, they've changed the sequence of the verses. It's like, yeah. Or even progressiveness should not be attached to any religion. It's a progressive religion. The criteria of being a progressive religion nowadays is to accept all the ills that a religion says is bad. If you accept them, now you are progressive. If the concept of marriage is not between a man and a woman, then it's something else, and you accept it, oh, you're a very progressive religion. Yanichi. And Our youths are getting entrapped by these terminologies. Oh, these guys are backward because they do matam. And I'm going to be a modern Muslim, I'm not going to do matam. And when does the body language to portray to an oppressor and to oppressed became out of fashion? When from your body language to tell the oppressor that be aware, and to tell the oppressed that we are with you became out of fashion. Yeah? I mean, these sort of body language, is 70% of our communication. You know that. And 30% that's remaining, 22% is tone and pitch. 8% of that is words. So 92% of our communication is non-verbal. Verbal, you can say tone and pitch is verbal, but it's not words. Right? So like what? I stop communicating to you by my body language? That's modern? It's like even if I try that, I'm still communicating something to you. Right? I mean, we do that all the time. It's natural for human beings to communicate to each other through their body language. Matam is you put your hand up, that signifies that you are against the oppressor. That's a universal body language to say, no, stop. Right? You see the Alam of Hazrat Abbas has his hand telling, we're not with you. Right? I saw this one picture where, the street was filled with the Azadar of Imam Hussain, and all of them in that picture had their hand up like this. When I saw it, my heart was filled with love for these people, but I also thought if I was the enemy, and I saw so many people telling me, stop, how would I feel inside? And they're all in synergy, they're all together, they're all showing unity. It's not that one person is saying no, everyone. Right? And then when you bring your hand down, is that your hand is coming down now for the help of the oppressed. Just because we are at fault of not making you understand or explain the concept behind matam, that doesn't mean someone who's doing it that you say let's finish it or this is backward. Right? And they associate, well, you're beating your chest. You're putting your hand up and you're bringing it down. It makes a sound, right? And that sound is like, in the old days for the war that they wanted to do, they would have these drums. And as these drums were in harmony, and they would create a loud noise. And that loud noise put fear in the hearts of the enemy. Sorry. When we were young, we used to go through the streets with the julus. That sound of matam you could hear from hundreds and hundreds of meters away. For the person who was wanting to get to the julus, it was a very nice feeling. And for the ones who were, had the hatred for Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, had the hatred for Imam Hussain salam, was actually scary. They would be like, my God, if these guys' hands, instead of coming to their chest, came on our faces, what would happen to us? If all of these people who are there in thousands, the numbers were in thousands, if instead of going like this and coming down with the force that they're bringing it down on their chest, if they came on our faces and our bodies, what would we do? I'll give you a not too long ago example. Malcolm X, you might have heard of him, right? So he was a very influential speaker, his character and so forth, all of that in history, you can take a look at it. There was a protest that they were doing, and there was a lot of police and everything. And the police started to realize that in this protest now is getting angry. Meaning it's going to erupt and we're going to have trouble. Right. And all of these people, if they start becoming violent, we don't have the strength to be able to control them. So we would have to use some lethal force, and there's going to be problems. And Malcolm X noticed that, right? And he realized that if I don't do anything right now, some innocent blood is going to be shed, right? So all he did was went like this. Wow. Okay. As soon as he went like that, the crowd saw his hand, they all calmed down. With me? They were all calm. The power that he had over them, they all calmed down. And the police also realized, the government realized, the enemies of his realized how much power he had. Oh. They realized, they said that, what if this man, just like thousands of people just by his hand are being controlled, what if this man went like this? Eh? What if he went like this to the crowd? The same people who had quiet down now because of his power, if he had gone like that, we would be in trouble. Right? So, we come out on the streets and we protest and we let the enemy know, don't take us for weak and meek. We're not weak and we're not meek. We're only restrained by the laws and the rules of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If it was not the law and the rule of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we can show you power that you have not seen before. Right? It's just that our religion does not allow the violence approach that some of the other schools of thoughts have. And Karbala is the best example. Imam Hussain was not there to fight, but because they were there, he defended himself. But even the defense of his was bound by the rules and the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They were not out of the bounds of the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I mean, even to the point when we get to the place where Imam Hussain was fighting and he heard the call from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh, contented soul, come back to me. I'm pleased with you and you're pleased with me. Imam Hussain put his sword back in his cover. And you look at history and you say, why? Because Imam Hussain was there to seek the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah, when he had achieved that status, he said, I've achieved what I came for. I wasn't there to fight. If he was there to fight, he would have carried on. He wasn't. He said, I'm not here to fight. I'm here to seek the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it is an honor that my Lord has said that I've achieved and He's pleased with me. I'm going. Right? And if you take the example of every Imam, you will find it in their history. So our mazhab, our school of thought, does not have violence that's portrayed on innocent individuals. It's not our school of thought. It is the other schools of thought that are manipulated by their leaders for their own selfish interest. They only program these individuals to go and commit those acts while they are in their houses enjoying their life and getting money. From where, So, now that I've opened up this sort of concept, which is also knowledge, right, about Matam, your perception has changed, right? And it's these little things that will open up your mind and will give you a different perception about your religion, where you will see the practicality of everything. That is not there without purpose. Yeah. And for us, it is a very big blessing that we were born in it. All right? We could have been born in any religion or creed. We could have been born in a Sikh family, a Hindu family. Yeah, we could have been born in any of that. Christian family, you know. And if we were born in that, we would have gotten, you know, maybe the programming of our fathers and the programming of all of that, we might have gone somewhere else. It is a blessing, but it's also a responsibility. Okay? Being born with the love of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, in the household where the mothers give that to you from the time that you are with them and in their lap. You know, when you go to the Majlis, and we cannot see the sister side, but I'm sure there are many little babies right now who are on the floor of Azhar. They're little babies. You know, they're listening to the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the name of Imam Ali, the name of Imam Maslimin, right? And they will grow up in that environment. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose those two parents for you, who are in the love of Ahlul Bayt, who have given this to you by blood. You know, it's through the blood of my mum that I got this love. Right? And it's such a immense amount of responsibility. It is a blessing, but every blessing has responsibility. Right? Every blessing has responsibility, and if that responsibility is not fulfilled, then it becomes a curse for you. But if the responsibilities are fulfilled, you know, it's the best thing that any human being can be given. You cannot put a monetary value to it. There were times when the friends and the companions of Imam Maslimin, they came and they said, you know, Imam, I don't have this, I don't have that, I have poverty, such and such. And the Imam would say, you know, what if we were to take the love of ours from your heart? What would you give away if we were to take the love? What will you be willing to give if we were to take the love of ours from your heart? I said, there's nothing in this world that can compare to this. We would be finished, we would not exist, we would be completely destroyed in our emotions and our physical and mental being if you were to take away this love. And you and I have it. This is the richness that you and I don't realize. If you were to try to find the most beautiful thing and precious thing in this world, you will not find it more than the love of Ahlul Bayt. I mean, just the ability to be able to say Fatima and for my heart to break. There is no price that you can put on this. For me to be able to have this love and then transfer it and name my daughters Fatima and Zainab, and throughout my whole life I can hear their names. There's nothing better in this world. There's no cars, there's no house, there's no money, there's no status, there's nothing. To be able to feel yourself as if you are there in Karbala. When we cry for Imam Hussain, sometimes our mind starts visualizing. And when you visualize and you see that great sacrifice, right? There cannot be anything better. There cannot be. And you can feel that contentment when you can visualize and you see and Hazrat Qasim standing there among the companions, and Bani Hashim and Imam Hussain is there telling them that tomorrow it is going to be the day of the test where you would have to sacrifice your lives. Now Hazrat Qasim in history narrates that he was not baligh. He had not reached the age of bulugh. But now listen to his statement. Imam Hussain said, "Oh Qasim, how is death to you?" Right. And Hazrat Qasim replies, "We are on the truth, we are on the right path. On the right path, death to me is sweeter than honey." Allahu Akbar. For a child to say that, who has not reached the age of bulugh yet, this answer tells you that his level of faith had surpassed the friends of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When that day came, Hazrat Qasim, as everybody else, was willing to sacrifice and go in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, there were a few things that I wanted to discuss about this personality, but because we have shortage of time, I will not touch upon it because it requires a little bit of lengthy explanation. But please, I beg of you, do not start putting and accepting those things that are not part of the history of Hazrat Qasim. Please. It is a disrespect to that honorable being that was the son of Imam Hassan. And those things are also an insult to the leader of the martyrs of all that will be there. When you know that the day is there where there are thousands and thousands of army armed to the teeth, if I was there, would I be thinking about anything of some happiness or marriage or this or that? Would I think? No. When I've taken the night just for the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and in the morning after Fajr, I am lifting the mutilated bodies of my companions. I've lifted the body of Habib. I've lifted the body of Muslim ibn Usata. I've lifted the body of Hur. In front of me lies my companions mutilated. Would I think about the dreams and aspirations that are as low as getting a child to be wedded? Would I think of that? When you have someone pass away, do you think in that funeral that I should get my son who's not reached the age of maturity to get married? Would you have a son like Qasim who says that death to me in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is sweeter than honey? Have such an aspiration? If somebody in these days of mourning, it's the enemies of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who in the days of mourning they will have wedding ceremonies. When you look at history, the history says he was nabaligh. He did not reach the age of maturity. And on one tradition that's narrated, whose chain is also weak, we are willing to say that. Such a big insult. On that basis, we're willing to say it. When on the other side, there are hundreds of narrations that go opposite of that, that are solid with proper authenticity. Just so that we can have that sort of emotional manipulation, emotional elevation, that we can satisfy our own way of mourning. Imagine for a moment, you in the place of Imam Hussain, and it's the day of Ashur. What would you do? You are giving your children away in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Your righteousness, your piousness would allow you to do that? And to associate that to another person who in history is already married. And then accepting it and fighting. No, this is what happened. And dividing ourselves for it. I say, forget the research of history. We are not historians. We cannot go and debate with each other. Forget that. Let's just look at the personality that you and I know of Hazrat Qasim and of Imam Hussain. When you are not willing to do that, would you wed your son today who's nabaligh? Will you wed him on the 10th of Ashur? No. You would not. And we can associate that to Imam Hussain, that he would wed his nephew when he wanted to seek for permission. Imam Hussain would not give him permission to go to the battlefield. Hazrat Qasim remembered that his dad had given him a will. He goes and finds it, he brings it to Imam Hussain, and it was a letter to Imam Hussain from Imam Hassan, in which it stated that, the time would come when it is the day of calamities, the time of calamities, I will not be there with you. When did Bibi Fatima knew about Karbala? When did she know? When did she know that Imam Hassan's dead body would be pierced by arrows? When did she know? She knew at the time of the birth of Imam Hassan. She knew at the time of the birth of Imam Hussain. Imam Hassan knew from the time that he could remember the event of Karbala, that it is going to happen. Imam Hussain knew the event of Karbala, it is going to happen. Right? A family that knows by the time that their children are born, do you think that on that day this would happen? Who have raised their children for that day. Imam Ali chose Hazrat Abbas in physique, in character, in spirit, specifically for Karbala. When all of that preparations are being done, do you think any one of them had their hopes and aspires that that event happens? They had a love for each other as a nephew would for his uncle, an uncle would have for his nephew, that we can associate to. But that love was not like the love of you and I. If you were to ever find a son who was in character and in his physique like the Holy Prophet, you would understand then. If you could find a nephew like Hazrat Qasim, who before reaching the age of maturity, would say that I would love to give my life in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and it will be easy for me. Then see what that loss would mean. When our aspirations are so lowly and we cannot even associate that lowly aspirations on the circumstances of Karbala, how can we associate that to Imam Hussain? And as Qasim showed that will, Imam Hussain said, okay, you are the representative of your father. As Qasim goes towards the battlefield, his battle was amazing. The enemies were astonished. But as he was fighting, of course, the thirst is there. It's a child. The wounds also make you thirsty. And when you're thirsty, you're tired. And you have wounds over your body, or you're bleeding, and an iron rod is hit on your head. The Qasim falls on the ground. He calls upon Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Oh, my uncle. This last call that everybody made, the way Imam Hussain approached that body, with all of the weakness that he had, he approached it so fast. The sight was just, you can't picture it. Sight was this child lying on the floor who reminded him of his brother Hassan, who had given his life in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as he wanted, and that death to him was sweeter than honey. And now he had the task to take this body back to the tent to his mother. The first sight of his mother on that body, only the mothers who have a heart can maybe understand. She was absolutely satisfied what her son had achieved. There could not have been anything more that she could have wanted out of Qasim. He was the son that had given his life in supporting the Imam of the time. He was the son who had represented his father in the most difficult of days. He was the son that she raised for this day. And today Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted her prayers. Allah give us the ability to be able to understand the personalities of Karbala. Give us the courage to be able to get closer to you through building a personal relationship with you. Allah protect us from the enemies within and outside. Allah give us the opportunity to practice the mourning of Imam Hussain that is going to please the Imam of the time. And those individuals who sacrifice their life for you, they are alive, they are watching. And I want to apologize to Hazrat Qasim that if anything that associated to you that is without, is against your character, I apologize for that. We might have done it out of ignorance. We did not know. But I know you now. You are my master. I apologize to Imam Hussain if we associated something that was not according to your stature. I apologize to the mother of Hazrat Qasim.